It's your girl, 𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒆�g, back with another video on today. Yes, Lord. Wow. First of all, you see this? I have been in here playing tennis because it's 90 degrees outside. Yes, hallelujah. However, that led to me opening the window, right? And then a fly came in here. And of course, it refuses to go out through the entrance from which it came. So it's just smacking against the window, flying all over the place. I'm chasing it with the racket like, die. And then tell me how I hit it. I heard it zap and somehow it survived. And then I had to continue to chase it. So to my awareness, I was able to succeed. I am the victor. Yes, I killed it. However, I don't know if there's another one in here. So if you see that, forgive me. And if I see it, I will try to hunt it down. Okay? Okay. Anyways, thank you all for coming. Thank you for joining, tuning in. Today is my first time shooting with my back camera, y'all. This whole time I've been using the front camera because it allows me to see what's going on. Now I'm just like throwing caution to the wind and hoping and praying that it looks correct. So y'all feel free to let me know. Shout out to my editor, Dreas, because he is the reason why I am being pushed out of my comfort zone of the recording style. Anyways, as you can see from today's title, we are here to talk about healing oneself. And the reason I wanted to hold space for us to discuss this is because I know oftentimes I point out different things that I notice going on specifically in our community because we are who I care about. And at the root of it all is a need for deep healing to take place. Men, women, everyone in between needs to do it. I also recognize that therapy, although an excellent, exquisite tool, not everyone has access to quality therapists as they would desire, or maybe even just the thought of sitting with a stranger and discussing your deepest, darkest secrets adds another layer of anxiety and shame, and it causes people to kind of try to withdraw from that process. And I'm learning not to be judgmental of what everyone's healing journey looks like because it's not an easy thing to do, you know? So what I would like for us to discuss here today are 10 little tips, tricks, and tools that I have applied into my life, things I've learned from therapy as well, things that I know that other people use that have helped in the healing of the emotional and mental body that doesn't require a therapist. Although clearly I'm not a licensed professional, so don't use any of these tips as a way to replace real, thorough counseling sessions if that's what you need. But at the very least, these can be foundational steps that allow you to enter the healing journey and build your muscle until you get to the next step of whatever that looks like for you, okay? So without further ado, let's get into it. Tool number 1 that is my personal favorite. It's something that I've taken from my therapy journey as well, which is to audit yourself. The way that I do this is every day I journal to start off the tone, to set the tone for what I want to experience, but also it's a way for me to check in with myself to see what exactly am I feeling in this moment, why am I feeling it, or for me to just, chit chat with myself. It's kind of like having the therapist there with you because it's an unbiased party, your notebook, listening and receiving every single thing that you are thinking and feeling without judgment. What I love about journaling every single day is it allows me to take control of the direction of my energy for that particular moment. It allows me to be responsible for how I'm feeling, why I'm feeling it, and what I would like to do about it without the fear of being judged or critiqued by someone else. Relatable content, raise your hand if you can relate to that feeling. Get you a journal. I will link the ones that I made in the description box as always because you gotta plug yourself. Like, come on, that is available. Check it out. Get you some. Audit yourself. Okay? Very important. Tip number 2. Get active. Literally, take a walk. Do some planks. Do some squats. Do something. Anything. YouTube has a wide array of workout regimens that are simple, easy, intermediate, or advanced, whatever level you are on, but make it a point to move your body, especially since we've gotten so used to being in this whole quarantine post-apocalyptic space of staying indoors as much as possible. Or if you're someone who works from home, like I've noticed that it's become really comfortable to stay indoors just to avoid all this drama of what's going on around you. If you're inside all the time or you're stationary all the time, what do you think that's doing to your energetic presence? I know for me personally, if I'm not being active, if I'm not moving my body, I start to feel literally stuck and lethargic. I start to feel sluggish, and it contributes to that feeling of sadness or lack of motivation because I'm literally not moving the energy that's within me. So this is something that you can definitely use as a reminder. Maybe you already know this and you just have been dragging your feet, but let me tell you, when you get active, when you exercise, when you do some kind of physical movements, not only does it boost your immune system, not only does it produce the endorphins in your body to help you feel a lot happier in your overall life, but it reduces stress levels, it reduces your anxiety, it connects you more to who you are. And not to mention, when you feel strong in your body, it translates into your presence. You become a strong presence, and that doesn't mean rah, 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 hoo, strong. It just means you are firm, you're grounded, you're so centered, and it allows you to not be thrown off as easily. Okay, get active. Tip number 3, bring. Make healthy tweaks into your life. So what does that look like? Naturally, eating more fruits, eating more vegetables. Get more of that in your life if you've been slacking on that in your diet, but also obviously stay hydrated. I didn't realize how intertwined dehydration and depression are, but it literally is. Like, if your body is lacking, just think about it. If you're not fueling your body, if you're not hydrating your body, which it is so necessary, especially as it's getting hotter outside, you know, it translates into you starting to feel not fully, I guess, energized would be the word. You just don't have the gusto for life, you know, because your cells, your body, your tissues, your muscles, your organs, everything that operates within you needs to be propelled by being hydrated properly. And I know it can be a tricky habit to maintain, especially because it's like now you gotta pee every 5 seconds, but it's worth it though. It's worth it because in the whole you having to pee every 5 seconds, at least you're getting active. You're getting your body moving, right? And you're letting your body know, look, I care about you enough to give you exactly what you need when you need it. And even if it's a little bit inconvenient, I'm still willing to do that for you, for me, for ourselves, to make sure that we are lit and out here having a good old time. Matter of fact, let me take a sip. That was more like a gulp because I was thirsty. When I tell you, the hunt got me all thirsty up in here. But yes, okay. Anyways, y'all, tip number 4. Bing! Spend more time in nature. This is a given. It's obvious. We all know that we need to do it, and yet sometimes it's so easy to forget how much of a system reset it is for you to spend some time outdoors and just around the trees, listening to the birds. You know, it plugs you back into who you are as a part of this natural experience. I know we have all this artificial stuff around us and it makes you kind of separated, especially you're always on your phone, you always have some kind of device in your presence, but we have always been a part of this natural environment, and therefore it's important for us to plug into it in order to be connected to ourselves fully. And to be honest, sometimes these feelings of stress, anxiety, overwhelmment, depression, those versions of mental afflictions are parallel to you being disconnected from the source of who you are. So spend more time outdoors, spend more time in nature. And this is definitely a reminder to myself as well, because I am quick to get comfortable in the house, y'all, in my yard. I get very comfortable in here. The temperature is nice. I got water, I got snacks, I have vibes, I have entertainment. But at the same time, I too have to make sure that I am being intentional about spending time in nature so that I can get recharged and fueled up and make sure that I am always in a space of I'm copacetic. My equilibrium is addressed. Okay? And truth be told, anytime when I've needed some help getting my mental or emotional space back on the up and up, going outside, it's so simple and yet it's so helpful. And I know if you live in like a city like me where you have to go through different layers to even get outside, like you have to get out your apartment, then you have to go in the elevator or down the stairs, then you might have a lobby door, then you get outside and there's like there might be people outdoors and you have to walk past them, and all of that can create like some kind of social anxiety that you feel because it's like, why can't I just get outside without having to interact with other people? It can make it very daunting and you kind of feel discouraged from doing it, but try to work yourself up to it. It's helpful if you do it earlier in the day when it's less active, so you might have fewer people to interact with, or even sometimes for me late. When I go outside later in the evening or nighttime, it's super dead. Well, it all depends on where you live naturally, but find a portion of the day where it might be less active and seize the opportunity to get outdoors, get in the heart of nature and just catch a vibe real quick. Even if it's just a quick 30 minutes, use that as you time to refuel yourself because you're the most important person out here, baby. It's you in the driver's seat of your life. So you gotta make sure you good. I see you. You cute. You cute. Tip number 5. Now, this is for those of us who are into astrology. If that is not your steez, then feel free to skip past this portion and have some respect. If you are into astrology, take advantage of your birth chart. Use it. It's a tool. I know a lot of the girls out here, once they got privy to the fact that a birth chart exists and you can just ask someone for their date and time of birth, and now every 5 seconds you meet someone and you're asking them for that information so you can pull up their birth chart. Like, stop trying to read other people and read yourself. These are supposed to be tools for you to use in your own life, okay? So if you are one of those people who is into the whole realm of astrology and the things, use it as a tool to address your own issues, okay? If there's things about the description of different aspects of your charts and placements that you see and you're like, hey, I like this about myself. Let me be more of that. Ooh, I don't like these things. These traits, either I can't relate to them or they bother me and I don't like that it's being described about me. Address them. Use that as your cheat code to really tweak those aspects of yourself that you don't want to be there anymore. Tweak it. Now, for me, I haven't been big on using my birth chart and all that kind of stuff lately, because I've already been through that entire phase of my healing journey. Therefore, where I am now, it just doesn't come up. And honestly, I'm grateful for that. But when I was really heavy into it, I would go into my birth chart and really read through everything that I see there. And sometimes there would be things that I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like that. And I'm able to recognize that, yeah, some of this definitely does apply to me, even if it's not exactly accurate. There are some things that I can apply to myself and see issue with and be bothered enough about it to make a shift in my life in some shape or format. Like one thing, for example, was, for those who don't know, I'm a Cancer, right? And just stereotypically, Cancers are considered the most emotional and right? And although that's not 100% true for every single person that is a Cancer, I know for me it was. There was a time where I used to be very emotionally reactive to the point that it's like other people or outside circumstances had so much power over how I felt and how I behaved. And I kind of felt helpless in a way and like adopted a victim mentality just off of the fact that I couldn't control my emotions well enough. And so when I started to really actually get into astrology, I was like, you know what? Let me use this information to build emotional resilience so that it's no longer relatable to me that, oh yeah, I'm a Cancer and I'm emotional. Like, no. Now it's, I'm a Cancer, but I'm also extremely balanced. I'm extremely grounded. I'm centered. I'm clear about who I am, and people can't shake me anymore. The last time I cried, it was because I was grieving, not because something that someone said hurt my feelings. You see what I'm saying? Use the astrology as a tool for building yourself. Stop trying to diagnose everyone else. They are not your project. You are your project. So treat yourself as such and leave everyone else to their own experience, okay? The reason I'm giving so much time to this portion is because I hear people who aren't into astrology at all, and they say how if they go out on a date or they're talking to somebody and they're like, hey, what's your sign? And then they're like, what's your time of birth? And they just do all of that, and it's such a turn off, or it's off-putting, because it's like, why are you trying to deduce who I am based off of these arbitrary concepts that I can't personally relate to? With that awareness, you have to understand that not everything is for everybody. Not everyone is into the things that you are into. But just because they aren't into it doesn't mean that you need to be the one to convince them to take it on in their life or involve them in it in some shape or format. Leave other people to their own tools that they want to use. And if astrology is a tool that you want to use it on yourself. Okay? Use it for you. And then if you have anyone else around you who's into it, then you can use it with them too. But everything isn't for everybody, okay? Tip number 6. Get plants. Or if you already have plants, spend more time with them. Nurture them, learn how to interact with them. We already all know that when you speak positivity into plants, they tend to grow and be stronger and bigger, versus if you neglect them or speak negativity to them, they'll wither away. If you don't know of that experiment yet, look it up. But plants are living beings too, okay? So when you surround yourself with them, not only are you purifying the air around you, which translates into enormous health shifts for you personally, the act of nurturing a living being that isn't like gonna talk back to you or give you sass, just the act of pouring into something and being caring, being tender, being attentive to something else and seeing it receive you, and as a result of your nurturing, it grows and it thrives. That is an amazing experience. It's so rewarding, and it is as if you are healing yourself by being a nurturer to something else. That's why you see some people end up getting pets, which is something that I did as well when I was going through a really hard time. Getting my pets was very helpful for me because it allowed me to pour in. It allowed me to access my caregiving nature without having to need another person around me immediately in order to exercise those skills. It's like, no, I have my plants, I have my pets, and therefore I'm able to be a nurturer without kind of imposing it on someone else. You know what I mean? Does that make sense to y'all? Relatable content? And because I've become so familiar with that nurturing aspect of who I am, now it just comes out of me. It's just a huge component of who I am. So when I am around other people, they just register that vibe for me. They're like, yo, something about you is really soothing. Like, you make me feel at ease and taken care of. You're just so calming of a presence. You're so pleasant. All of these things came from me learning how to pour into myself and pour into my environment or the things that I'm responsible for. Being a caregiver will do that for you. Okay, so heal yourself by being a nurturing presence. Take care of something. Give life to something. Okay? Let me take a sip. Tip number 7. Get creative, okay? Understand this. Your right brain is often neglected. The creative side, the more free-spirited, loose, structured side of your being gets neglected often because we're in this productivity-based society. You need to have some kind of occupation in life so that you can afford yourself as a human, right? And oftentimes that is a huge component to what contributes to people's stress and anxiety and all of those things, is knowing that they have to be such a worker bee. And you distance yourself from your creative, free-spirited side, but we all have that. And we all need to be able to access both sides of our brain. It's what allows synapses to take place. It's what allows us to have mental stimulation take place. It's what allows us to constantly expand, learn more, receive more information, process more, is when both sides of our brains are being activated and stimulated. So all that to say, find creative outlets. It can be as simple as just grabbing an adult's coloring book. That's what I started off with. Getting you some fine point markers and just coloring. And what that does, it actually activates both your left and your right brain, because you have to focus and stay within the lines and pick colors and make them match. That's your left brain working. And then just the act of the flow of you coloring and you kind of being more loose and more artsy, that's your right brain. And so they both work together, and they have this line of books. I think they're called calming coloring books. I'll link them in the description box below so you can get you some. But that's something that was very helpful for me. And I'll tell you, something about it is just so meditative. It's like it just calms you down. It helps you kind of have a break from all of the ghettos of the world and just take a moment of peace and vibes to just get your color on, get your brain stimulated, and get lit. Get creative. Be creative. Embrace it. Men as well. Y'all be neglecting that creative aspect of yourself, and it's really unfortunate because sometimes y'all are the most creative people in the room. It can be dancing, it can be anything, but just have an outlet for yourself that allows you to tap into that part, okay? Tip number 8, listen to wellness podcasts and or read books that are geared towards self-development in some way. For me, one of the books that I got into very early on was The 4 Agreements. Okay. Also, Mastery of Love is a good one. Y'all always ask me to show you what books I have in my bookshelf. Here I have The 5th Agreement, actually. I also had The 4 Agreements, but I lent it to someone a while back because he really needed that. And then we stopped dealing with each other and I just let him keep it. But I have The 5th Agreement here, which is pretty much a synopsis of the first 4, and then they add a 5th one. And then The Mastery of Love. Now, the reason I suggest these 2 books specifically is because although they're pretty simple as far as content wise, they really help you put things in perspective. Like, they help you become more accountable for your own emotional well-being. We've become very accustomed to making other people responsible for how we feel, and that just simply doesn't make sense. So why did we ever think it did? What you are going through, what you are perceiving, what you are feeling is always up to you. How long you stay in that place and how you shift out of it, those are things that are within your control. No, you can't control everything that's going on, but you can control yourself. And it might seem kind of crazy to hear that, but it is the truth. It is something you have access to. You are way, way, way more powerful than you give yourself credit for. So these 2 books really helped me to recognize that about myself and take ownership of what I am perceiving out of a situation and be more intentional about how I show up and how I handle things and how I respond to things as opposed to reacting. All that kind of stuff is very, very helpful. Another one for me, and I don't have it there, it's an ebook that I bought, is Ask and It Is Given by Esther and Jeremy Hicks. Excellent. They kind of like detail how to climb the emotional ladder. Like, let's say you're starting all the way down here at depression. They teach you how to rise all the way up to well-being. Shouts to Big Sean, actually, because he was talking about it on The Breakfast Club a few years ago, and he put me on. And when I went and got that book and read it, I was like, yo, this is a gem. Okay. And then as far as podcasts are concerned, I listen to The Friend Zone. They have been so monumental in my healing. Like, they don't even understand. They have helped me so much. So I listen to The Friend Zone. I also know of this podcast called Viva La Wellness, I believe it's called. And it's hosted by a licensed therapist. And then another one, Therapy for Black Girls, also hosted by a licensed therapist. Again, these are not replacements for therapy if that's really what you need, but it'll get you going, it'll get the gears moving and help you make those steps towards the next level, right? Tip number 9. Now, this one is connected to your inner child healing. Do the things that you used to do when you were a kid. What were the things that brought you joy and excitement and just pure, authentic enjoyment? For me, I used to love me some Play-Doh. Okay, Play-Doh, let me tell you something. Play-Doh used to just ease my mind in a way that nothing else has ever been able to do. maybe ganja, but Play-Doh, let me tell you something. Especially because I was one of those kids who used to be in the after school program until the last possible second. Like, I was one of the kids who got picked up super late. I would be the last kid in the building. It used to make me feel sad sometimes or embarrassed or whatever, but when the teachers would come out and bring me Play-Doh, it just calmed me down. I would get anxiety constantly looking at the door like, where's my mom? Like, where is she? All the kids are gone. And the Play-Doh just really put all that tension into something and mold it and do something with it. And yeah, it was very, very, very helpful for me. That alongside with coloring and all that kind of thing. So find whatever that was for you. It might not have been Play-Doh or coloring. Maybe it was something else. Maybe it was building Legos or something. I don't know. It could be anything. Video games. It could be anything that you used to do as a child that really, really made you super happy. And then as you got older, you stopped doing it. You forgot about it, or you associated it with childhood alone. When at the end of the day, we're really just a bunch of grown children. Adulthood, we all have recognized that is a scam. So there's no reason to leave behind childish things, so to speak, because some of those things is what kept you sane back in the day, and then you let it go when you grew up because of what reason? Why? For what? Okay. If you want to get you some Play-Doh, child, get you some Play-Doh. If you want some scented markers, get you some. Get whatever it is and tap into it, because every time you pick up these old practices that used to be so beneficial to you in your childhood, you heal an aspect of yourself that you probably didn't even realize needed attention at all until you started to do that. And last but certainly not least, tip number 10, become a helper in some way, some shape or formats, whether it's like through community service type of helping or just with your friends or your family, helping them in some way, doing some kinds of good deed on a consistent basis. Because sometimes the things that plagues people's minds is feeling as though they're useless, feeling as though they don't know what their worth or their value is. And truth be told, you're the only one who knows that you feel that way, because you are holding that thought process internally. But people outside of you, you'll be surprised how they perceive you. Like, sometimes I'll have people tell me things in a moment where I'm not feeling my best, but then the way that they perceive me is like, whoa, that's what you think? I didn't know I needed to hear that, but thank you. Like, thank you so much. So when you become helpful in some way, even if it's something as small as buying a bottle of water for a friend before you go visit them. If you know what it's like to do something nice for someone and it's like no strings attached, that feeling of well-being and gratitude and graciousness is just so incredibly powerful. My God, like, there's not enough words to describe how transformative it is for you in your own life when you become a helper to other people in some way. It's so rewarding. It makes you feel once again connected to who you really are. It helps you find your way back to the core of you before you got distracted by all these other things that are like extensions of you. Be a helper in society. Part of your purpose is to make this world better in some way, even if it's tiny, because your tiny contribution to that one person's life ripples into everyone else that they interact with after that. It's hard to quantify how huge your impact is, but let me tell you, it is massive. You have so much range, so tap into it. But yeah, those are my 10 ways to heal yourself that don't require therapy. But if you need it, get it. Okay? All right, y'all. That's all I have for you today. See you in my next video. And wish me luck on hunting down that friggin' fly.